Hello guys, I hope you all are doing well. This video is for the purpose of revision. Let's start. I've heard from a lot of people, यार मेंस का एग्ज़ाम तो बहुत फाड़ू है, यार मेंस का एग्ज़ाम कैसे करेंगे, या फिर मेंस एग्ज़ाम इज़ टू डिफ़िकल्ट, और हाउ टू राइट आंसर्स ऑन मेंस एग्ज़ाम. आई एम जस्ट सो confused, I'm just so underconfident, and I don't think that I'll be able to write an answer to this or something like that. It's too tough. I understand that you can once you start writing you would proceed in a better way, but the point of starting is the issue that we can't proceed with. I would just want to tell you one simple thing. You remember when we all were in class 5, when we were in class 6 or 7, and we had questions over history or civics or geography, asking us what are the merits of this act, or what are the merits of this place, or what are the merits of this process, or demerits, or anything like that. If you look into the UPSC paper, analyze it really nicely, you would find that everywhere the questions that are asked is somewhere asking you to either write its features, or write the demerit, or write the merits, or your disadvantage, or the way it has evolved, the way it has come up. So this is a very simple pattern that you need to follow. However, the only difference between class 4 and 5 exam and this UPSC exam is 2 points that differs in those exam and this UPSC exam. The first is that there we were asked directly, here indirectly. Second is, there, if this was a chapter, if preamble was one chapter that we were talking of, question was related to this. However, what UPSC does it might link some of the case that has been going on relating to preamble and ask you a question on this theoretical question. Or what can they do? They can link preamble with DPSP, say, or FR, or anything, and then they might link all of these and then ask you a question. So these are the patterns that UPSC has been following, and the only way you can know about this is when you go through the UPSC papers, UPSC question papers. And please do not go under the concept, under the motive, or under the people's logic that if you buy one, like we had our last 10 years, you have the solved question papers and thus you are you can succeed in your exam. See, last 10 years gave us the solved paper, and class 10 and class 12 was a qualification exam. This is a competitive exam. If they are asking you for 20% and you're giving them the 20%, you succeed, you pass. But here they don't ask you for 20%, they don't ask you for 100%. If A has his 100%, if B has his 100%, but their 100% might differ, and A might have a better 100% to give in than the B, UPSC will select A. Then this class 10 logic will not work. So if you go according to the solved exams, just imagine 1 lakh, 10 lakh people, I don't know how many, are going through this very book. And you are also going through this very book. And trust me, when you know about your mind, you will know that once you've read one question, one answer from there, and you've selected 10 points, your mind will start thinking in that way. So if you have those 10 points to know about, and if you think that yes, according to this answer should have been written, yeah, I can get it, now you have to see to this or see to that, you will realize that your mind has sticked to this. And this is the same function that is being going with all those 10 lakh people. So how is your answer different? You are, again, even if you have this 100%, you are coming down to this 100% because of this book. So don't refer these, don't go with these. However, if you think that you can refer to these books, see how are they writing it, and after that come up to yourself, think about how would you write this answer, and then take important things from here. I am not saying that abolish this, boycott this, or anything like that. Have it with you if you have it, and if you don't have it, Google it. It's that simple. Don't spend money on it. However, if you have it, refer to this. That's not a problem, but don't depend on this. See, once you have your mind and you are just inviting them, so they are coming as guests, you can keep them as and how you want and let the rest of those go away. However, if you depend on them, you are going there as your guest. Your mind is there and they will decide, dude, what to feed in you and what not to feed in you. So this is the difference. Never ever depend on them. The only good source is UPSC papers, the mains papers, the prelims papers, and your mind. Look into what people are doing, look into how they are going, but then come back to your mind. Let those good feed come to your mind instead of you taking your mind there. This is the sole thing that I wanted to say before starting. So I have started with preamble, mains, and prelims question paper. I had thought that the preamble video have already been out. We have discussed that chapter. So why not revise it 2 weeks later today with the link of UPSC paper and how we could write an answer referring to Lakshmikant and not these books. So let's begin with first the prelims question, and then we would come to the mains question. See, there was a question in prelims 2013 where it said economic justice as one of the objectives of Indian constitution has been provided in preamble and FR, preamble and DPSP, FR and DPSP, or none of the above. So now you see, if you've just read preamble and you're not thorough with these two, you will never be able to answer this question. Why? Because if you don't know about FR, you might get confused here. Even if you know that nahi yaar, preamble to keeps talking about this. You might have the same issue if you don't know about DPSP. However, the correct answer would be what? Preamble and DPSP. DPSP, it is in economic, social and political, the justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. So it's the same as we talk in the preamble. And preamble, it is given how? Let's look into it. See, we have justice point here, term justice, social justice is given and economic justice is given, and they've also talked that political justice is also there. And how is it so simple? See, ideal of justice, that is social, economic and political, has been taken from the Russian Revolution. So we know that justice concept has social, economic and political under preamble. So this is simple. There was another question in prelims 2017 which said, which one of the following objectives is not embodied in the preamble to the Constitution of India? Liberty of thought, economic liberty, liberty of expression, liberty of belief. I've shared this question in my Instagram page. See, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. So you just see from the whole chapter they got this small portion to ask us the question. So what are they saying? Here liberty of thought is mentioned, expression is mentioned and belief is mentioned. So the answer automatically becomes economic liberty. So this is one answer of your prelims 2017. There was another question from prelims 2017 that said, the mind of the makers of the Constitution of India is reflected in which of the following? See, answer is straight away given in the polity book. However, if you go through the elimination method, see, fundamental rights cannot be an answer. Why? Because they are the limitations on the tyranny of the executive and legislative. It is just a portion from those mind makers' mind of the limitations. Then DPSP is what? It is the instrument. It is the ideals of instruction to the state. So this can also not be an answer because this does not reflect completely about the mind of the makers. And then FD, fundamental duties, cannot be an option. Why? Because fundamental duties wasn't even introduced by them. So the answer automatically comes to preamble. And if you see in the polity book itself, see, Sir Aladi Krishnamaswamy Iyer, a member of the Constituent Assembly, played a significant role, said, preamble to our constitution expresses what we had thought or dreamt so long. So this says what they had been thinking of, they'd been planning of, they'd been dreaming of. So this is the answer to this. There was another question in 2018 that said, which one reflects as nicest appropriate relationship between law and liberty? You know, this is such a simple question and you will now know how UPSC just plays with words. Thank God, not feelings. Anyway, so which one reflects the nicest appropriate relationship between law and liberty? See, if there are more laws, there is less liberty. If there are no laws, there is no liberty. If there is liberty, laws have to be made by people, and if laws are changed too often, liberty is in danger. Here again, if we see all the points and think about what could be an appropriate answer, see, if laws are changed too often, laws keep changing, right? They keep getting amended. So how can the liberty be in danger? Why? Because judicial review is there to see if that laws are appropriate or not, and if they are not appropriate, they will not bring it into the picture. So laws have to be changed, because if they are not changed, if we follow the ideals of 72 years or maybe 1000 years back, the logic of those people to our century now, it's really not a good option that we are going with. So this cannot be an answer. Then, if there is liberty, laws have to be made by the people. How can this be? We do have liberty, right? Our constitution has liberty, but laws are not made by us. Laws are made by the parliament, and parliament people do represent us, but it's not people, I would say, because people includes the whole of the citizens of India. So this again cannot be an answer. Then, if there are more laws, there is less liberty. How many of you know how many articles are there right now in this constitution? I don't think that we need a better explanation over this. So we are left with, if there are no laws, there is no liberty. And now if you want a theoretical explanation to this, you will find that in this liberty part, they say, see, the term liberty means the absence of restraints on the activities of individuals. So now if you go through this, you'll find, what are laws? Laws are the restraints. Laws are made so that we know that we cannot do this or we can do so and so, and thus it's a restraint on the state also to talk to the citizens well, and it's a restraint on citizens also to see that the state is being treated well. So if there are no laws, then how will liberty be absent or present? There is no question of the liberty being absent or present. So if liberty means the absence of restraints, that means there are restraints, there are laws. So if there are no laws, there is no question of liberty's existence. So this is the answer of the prelims 2018 question. In 2016, UPSC had asked, discuss each adjective attached to the word republic in preamble, and the second question was, are they defendable in the present circumstances? So the first thing that we need to see is that discuss each adjective attached to the word republic in preamble. See, what all words do we need to see? Discuss the attachment of those adjectives to the word of this republic. Those we need to discuss about, not this word republic. So there are two things that we need to see. Then we'll come to this part of the question. So when I was writing this answer, I had to refer here, because if I did not refer here, I wouldn't have been able to, come up with or think about all the four of them. And then I was thinking, had this been me in this 2016 sitting, and then there was this question, how would I have recalled all the adjectives if I couldn't even now? So that is why referring to these question papers is important. See, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic. So republic comes here, and so these justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, we don't have to count these. What we have to count is, we have to talk about sovereign, we have to talk about socialist, we have to talk about secular, we have to talk about democratic. Now, discuss means what? As I said, we have to see to the positive side also. We have to mention the negative side of it. Even if it's one line, we have to mention. And are they defendable in the present circumstances? See, UPSC has two ways in writing the answers. First is, you can write it in paragraph form. Second is, you can write it in points form. If you know where to write points, you can comment down, and if you know where to write paragraphs, you can comment down. I'm still confused in this. I don't know exactly when or what to write. However, since this was one of my early questions that I had started writing, I had written down this in the paragraph. So the best way to write an answer and not refer to things is, see, the first thing is what we have to discuss each adjective. So now you have to mention sovereign word, you have to mention democratic word, you have to mention socialism, and you have to mention the secularism. These are the four things that you have to discuss. Then I know that I have to write an introduction also, and I have to write a conclusion also. So this is something that I have to mention. I will refer to this book instead of referring to that solved question paper book. Why? Because this will give me the ocean, that will give me the sea. And I think diving into the ocean to get out the best of your things is the way you should be going with. So first I've written the introduction. So what I have written is, preamble is the introduction or preface, summary or essence. I have copied this line. What? Preamble is the introduction, preface, summary or essence of the constitution. Why? Because this line is something that I would remember even when I'm writing the answers in my UPSC hall. Why? Because this is one thing very, very simple and very relatable to the word preamble. So if anything that is there, I can write this at least and not panic. So this is the first line that I've written, and I know that it's based on the objectives resolution. So this is first line that I've let them know that yes, I know about the story that you're asking. And then the adjectives attached to the republic extended after 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, which added socialist and secular to it. So I also know that initially it was just sovereign and democratic, socialist and secular came up. So when I was going through the answers that were there in Google, I found that they've written it as sovereign, they've written about sovereign, then they've written socialist, then they've written about socialist, then they've mentioned secular, they've written about secular, and then they've mentioned republic, democratic, and then they've written about democratic. when I was going through this, I think I went through this way, as in the existing adjectives that were there. I've written about sovereign and democratic in the first paragraph, I've written about socialism and secular in the second paragraph, and then I've written the conclusion. So it's on you. See, I'm not saying that you need to copy this or copy this, but if you know, well and good. If you don't know, start with this at least. Even if you're able to write this, at least write this. After that, if you see, today I came up after maybe a month or so to this page again, so I'm revising and I will see, oh my god, I wrote that at that point of time. Maybe instead of this the next sentence could have been better suited here. So once you start, you will always see, when you come back to this page again after a month or so, you will find that yes, you have got a better grip into this. So I've written the introduction. I can extend it well, but I thought to show you the first answer that I've written, so that you don't panic out and see how kiddish my answers were. Anyway, so I've written about existing adjectives, about sovereign and democratic. So in the first line, I am explaining the word sovereign. So again, I have taken my thing. The word sovereign implies that India is neither a dependency nor a dominion. So this is one line that I've written, that and it is free to conduct its own affairs, internal and external. So this is my line that says that sovereign is what. However, now you have to mention, see, how important are the facts and figure in UPSC. Suppose if I tell you today that I have 20 cars with me, you will listen to it, you will hear it, and then you will get away with it. Why? Because first of all, I have not shown any proof, I have not shown anything. However, if I share 10 pictures with you that yes, I have this car and this car and this car and this car, this would make this statement of mine more relevant. This would make it far better in explanation than the normal thing that I've just said. I've just made a statement. So how do you make UPSC believe that yes, you are the better one than the rest? See, you have to keep mentioning all the practical aspects that been going on. See, like in sovereign, you can write the abrogation of Article 370 that was there. How? Because in abrogation of Article 370, you can write that yes, this is the dependency, this is the freedom of our constitution, that we can do this on our own. So sovereign is that. Then I was writing about democratic. You can select one good line from here, you can write about what is democratic, and then you can also mention what democratic is and the parliamentary democracy. Just make sure that it's just one line or two line, because more than that you have to complete this answer in 200 words. And when they say 200 words, trust me, don't go with that. Cut 50 before only. Write it in 150 words, because once you do 150, you will try and compile it in 150, you will go to 175 or something, and lesser is better than more this time. So democratic, when you've written one good line, and then you can mention that the Indian constitution being very fragile at democracy, India has still survived without the transition to authoritarian and that structure of governance. So this is something that you can write over democracy, and thus you are done with democracy. Then we also have socialist. So now the second paragraph of mine is the two adjectives that were added in 1976, which made this constitution explicit. So with socialism, I have written that socialism had the Gandhism and every point that is here. And then I also mentioned that, however, the new economic policy of 1991 diluted the socialist credentials of the Indian state. Why? Because with this, the socialist in economy portion wasn't a socialist feature. However, here you can write that in another sense, in being a socialist democratic, like the democratic socialism that it is mentioned, you can mention those schemes which are into the socialist side of the constitution, like PM Jan Arogya Yojana or Garib Kalyan Yojana. So this will help you in writing your answer here. And then the last, when you are writing secular, I have just written secularism is all religions in our country equal irrespective of their strength. Shorten my answer over here also. However, you have to see that this concept, which was added in 42nd, was also already established by the mind makers of our constitution. How? By the article 25 to 28. So you can say that these were already guaranteed. So even if this wasn't there, this would have been still established, and this is a better way. And I was going through one or two of the sites to have a better analysis of my answer. So at that point of time, they mentioned about the AIM PLB influence to write over socialism, or the Hindu Mahasabha influence that you can write on, or the Shiromani Akali Dal issue that you can write in the secular part. But I, on my personal opinion, feel that instead of sidelining myself into one party or another party and coming up with those issues, I have to show my UPSC people that I am neutral towards anything. So instead of writing examples of these in your secular answer, you can mention about the Triple Talaq Bill, or you can mention about the Hindu Widow Remarriage Act, which comes with the religion part, and they do come back into this. They do have to bring themselves into this. So this is it about the paragraph way that I've written. However, if you want to write it in a point way, what can you do? You've written the introduction, you can write the first point being the sovereign. Then you're writing one answer, what is sovereign? You write that with all of this, you've written one line about sovereign, you've written one line about socialist, you've written one line about democratic, you've written one line about secular. Then what you do? You write about the issues, the discussions in the way what all is happening. So the answer to are they defendable in the present circumstances would fulfill your examples that yes, sovereign is defendable. Why? Because articles like abrogation of Article 370 does exist. In the democracy, you can write that yes, it is defendable because even being this fragile, it has still managed to keep up its existence. In your socialism, you can still write the door in 1991, it bent down, still PM Jan Arogya Yojana and these yojanas have made them that yes, it is defendable. Then in secular also, you can write about that how Triple Talaq Bill has changed the way, how the Sabarimala issue had come up, and everything you can write in this. So you're somewhere linking all those issues here and then making your answer crisp, short, but very attractive. And in the conclusion, you can, I have written that the preamble is neither a source of power to the legislature nor a prohibition upon the powers of the legislature, nor justiciable. However, presence of articles to ensure the adjectives to the word republic in the preamble gives it importance and relevance to make it defendable in the Indian Constitution. This one small conclusion can make my answer better. This is my way of writing. I'm not saying to copy this. I'm just sharing it with you guys so that you know that yes, this can also be a way that you can write your answers and then you can go accordingly.